Have you seen the sequel to one of my all-time favorite horror movies, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Not that piece of crap they put out on Netflix a couple years ago. And not that 3D piece of crap from 2013. I'm talking about the original Tobe Hooper directed Part 2 Chainsaw Massacre Part 2 with Dennis Hopper. On the Mount Rushmore of slashers, Leatherface has always kind of been my favorite. Because to me, he was kind of the most human. Almost as if he himself was just a victim of his environment. And in this installment, we delve into Leatherface's softer side. This film also features some of Leatherface's best dance moves. But more importantly, I think this film probably displays the coolest looking Leatherface in the whole franchise. And if I ever do finish reviewing all these movies, I will go back and recap, and I'll do a ranking video of best Leatherface, from best to worst. I'll probably start at worst and work my way back to best. This one definitely is one of the best ones. And as goofy as this movie looks, the Leatherface looked pretty cool. Or maybe he just looked so bad in the other ones, because some of them were pretty bad. Michael Myers went through this shit too. Dennis Hopper is on the hunt for the Sawyer family. He plays Lefty, the uncle to Sally and Franklin from the original. And now, 14 years later, he wants some answers. But first we meet Stretch. She's a late night DJ, and she gets a call from some obnoxious college frat boys, and inadvertently she records them being killed by Leatherface and Chop Top. The next day, Lefty goes to the scene of the crime, and he can see that a chainsaw is involved. He knows that it was no accident, and he wants to get the media involved. All these chainsaw deaths keep getting brushed under the rug. Like accidents, they don't make the papers, nothing's happened. The killers are running around free. So Stretch tracks him down at his hotel or motel, Holiday Inn, and she shows him, I have the tape. The evidence you're looking for I have the whole thing recorded. Because she wants to help him. Honestly, she doesn't want to help him. She wants to help herself. Her getting the tape to him busting the whole thing, she'll get some credit. It's her ticket to the big time.
This is my chance to stop playing headbanging music and do something real.
So he tells her that night, she should play it over the radio. And then he goes into town and gets some chainsaws. Because you don't want to go into a chainsaw fight without a chainsaw, do you? What are you, stupid or something? Sawyers, in fact, are in town.
What do we know about the Sawyer family tree at this point? Got Leatherface all along. Y'all know Leatherface. Well, what about Chop Top? Who's this guy?
Look what you did to the plane, you bitch! You got her?
Apparently, he may or may not be the twin brother of the hitchhiker, Nubbins, as they like to call him, from the original, who died at the end. Grandpa's the original butcher who walked out of work one day because his job was outsourced to technology. Apparently he missed killing those cows with a sledgehammer so much that he started killing people. And coincidentally, people are delicious. Then there's the cook, aka Drayton Sawyer, who I always assume was the dad because he's a little bit older than the other guys, and he seemed kind of like he was running shit, but he makes it very clear in this film he is the older brother. Then there's Grandma. I don't know why she's in here other than to provide a chainsaw for Stretch to use on the family. She looks even older than Grandpa. Is she dead or alive? And why does she have a chainsaw? Nobody else has a chainsaw. They're like trying to show that it runs in the family. Leatherface has a chainsaw. That's it. But every time we gotta dig up some old family member, some forgotten person, they gotta like show up with a chainsaw to show that they're part of the crew. No, just Leatherface. He's the chainsaw guy.
The cook has just won the chili cook-off for the second year in a row. His secret is the meat. He's been feeding this town human flesh for 2 years in a row, and they love it. And Stretch is a reporter at the scene. The killer's right in front of her, and she has no idea. But it does show you what a busybody she is in pursuing her career, wanting more for herself. She's a go-getter. And that night she plays the tape over the air, and the Sawyers hear it. And Leatherface and Chop Top pay her a visit, because they want the tape. LG, her goofy-ass co-worker, with shitty timing, he shows up and gets cacked in the head like 13 times with a hammer. How is he possibly still alive? He got hit so many, and some of them were good ones. And when Leatherface finally gets Stretch, they're face to face. He's ready to kill her, and she calls him on his shit.
How good are you?
She basically, like, shows that she's not afraid of him. Tells him he's not so bad. What are you mad about? And Leatherface gets all googly-eyed. He's like, wow. She talked to me. She must really like me. Ooh. Then he begins fondling her with his chainsaw. As if the chainsaw was like a symbol of his junk. His power. And I think he has an orgasm. And I think this guy's even worse than old fuckface from the Funhouse. A little twang and a wang, he's off. And I think Leatherface thinks he really just had sex. Because he does his little happy I just came dance as he runs out the door. The fact that he bailed lets me know that he just came. And she's like, what the fuck? But he lets her live. And he even lies to Chop Top about it. He's like, yeah, she did. Even though deep down he'd rather be bragging about like his new girlfriend. But he knows that he can't have a girlfriend. The Sawyers work alone. Well, alone with the Sawyers, with the other Sawyers. And they leave her behind. They take the tape and they take LG. And they go back to their lair. And Stretch finally finds Lefty. And Lefty lets her know that her playing the tape, he's like, yeah, I knew they'd come if they heard the tape. I was using you as bait. Doesn't explain why he showed up a little bit late. Said a lot of rhymes. I played the tape using you as bait, and then I showed up late.
I had to do it. Damn, I used you, girl.
She doesn't even get pissed off about it. She's just like, oh, okay. Sounds rational. I'd done the same thing if I were you. You were right to do that. I'd have been pissed. Like, what if they killed me? What if Leatherface didn't fall in love with me? He had his chainsaw in my crotch. He put his chainsaw in my clam. He was going to terrify me. And they stumble across the Sawyer lair. And not subtly. Like the amount of noise they make and they're not heard. Nobody knows what's going on. It's weird. I'm just like, you guys even try to sneak around? They're so loud. And the lair kind of looks like, first it kind of reminded me of like the Goonies set. And it would have been about the right time period for them to be like, hey, you guys done with that set over there? We need to borrow it because we're making a low budget movie. But then it also looked, I don't know, looked like a lot of things. Apparently it's like an abandoned carnival. Because you know there's abandoned carnivals everywhere. Aren't carnivals pretty much like seasonal where they pack them up and then they take them with them and then the carnies go from town to town? Isn't that what most Nick Cave songs are about on his early Bad Seed albums? But the two get separated. And after Leatherface slices off LG's face, he discovers Stretch. Now, does Leatherface know that he's like deformed and fucked up looking? So his goal of stealing faces from other people and putting them on his own face, is that his attempt to make himself look better? To make himself look more attractive? Make himself look more appealing? Or is he just like a weirdo that likes the way other people's flesh feel on his face? I don't know. I always feel like there's something deeper going on with Leatherface, but they never, I think that's one of the beauties of Leatherface, is the fact that they never delve into him. Because if any villain was to be delved into, it'd be Leatherface. That guy's got problems. And they're all right in front of you, and nobody ever talks about it. If I had to guess, I'd say his biggest problem is his family. But Leatherface once again finds Stretch and doesn't kill her, because our boy is in love. But he can't just run away and live happily ever after with her, because his family's fucked up. So he has to hide her again, this time putting LG's face over her. How she does not flip out, it's one of those things where it's like, if somebody did it to me, I'd flip out. But if it was life or death, maybe I wouldn't flip out. It'd be gross, though. I don't even like the idea of like putting lunch meat on my face. You know, people do that. I don't like stuff touching my face. It's gross. So when he does that, I'm just like, okay. You can wear this on your face or you can fight my family. At that point, I'd be like, I'm going to fight your family. Don't touch my face. You're just going to lay some gross shit on my face. I ain't like LG. He's creep. So Leatherface disappears and LG wakes up. How did he not wake up during the skinning? The skinning. And Leatherface basically skinned his whole body and he was out the whole time, making it seem like he was dead, but he's not. He wakes up. He finds Stretch, sees that she's wearing his face, and he didn't even get pissed. He's like, He cuts her hands free, and then he's like, I'm useless. I just realized I got no flesh. I'm going to go die. And he finally dies. And then she gives him his face back, as one does. And Lefty's elsewhere in the lair, and he stumbles across the room where Franklin and his wheelchair are. And he sees the wheelchair and Franklin's corpse, and he gets a little misty-eyed. And it's at this point during this film, because I know Sally lived. She's in the back of the truck. She freaks out. She drives away. She lives happily ever after. Well, she lives after. But for some reason, while watching this, I feel like both of them are dead. Until this moment where I see him like shed a tear. And then I think, wait, Sally lived. If Sally was dead, I could see the uncle going out looking for revenge. But Sally was fine. Franklin died. Fuck Franklin. Franklin was hands down the most annoying horror victim in horror history. And it put this weird thing on it where you weren't allowed to totally hate him because he's in a wheelchair. So you got to kind of sympathize and be like, if I was in a wheelchair, I'd act like that too, probably. I'd be a bitch. I wouldn't even have gone on the trip. Franklin's strong. You want to empower him, but after a certain point, you're just like, Jesus Christ, will somebody just put a chainsaw on this fool? His death was actually the best part of that film because it meant no more of his fucking whining.
If I have any more fun today, I don't think I'm going to be able to take it.
Eventually, Chop Top and the cook realize Leatherface has been lying to him all along. And the further the film goes, Chop Top sounds just like Salacious Crumb. They go to look for Leatherface. And Leatherface once again has her one-on-one. And this is the point where she decides she must break up with him. She's got to break poor little Leatherface's heart.
I'm trying to be open with you. It's nobody's fault. I just can't do this.
But before she can, the fam catches up. And now they know that Leatherface, without a doubt, has a little crush.
Bubba likes her.
Bubba's got a girlfriend. Bubba's got a girlfriend. Bubba's got a girlfriend. Bubba's got a girlfriend. Bubba's got...
Cook reveals that they know nothing about sex.
You got one choice, boy. Sex or the saw. Sex is, nobody knows.
This is a clan of virgins, and this is why we don't see a lot of women in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. They're a bunch of inbred boy brothers who don't know shit about sex. They live with their grandfather, who knows what happened to their dad or their mom. And they're just some virgin boys who are obsessed with food and eating and killing. Any hope of the Sawyer family continuing its bloodline goes through Leatherface because he's the only one with a sex drive. And his sex drive is what gives him empathy and the guilt of killing and wanting to let people live. He doesn't kill because he's a monster. He kills because his family, that's what his family does. There's always this back and forth with Leatherface when he's killing. He always starts out like gung-ho about killing, but then there's always a weird backlash where later he feels bad. At least it looks like that to me. And that's why I relate to Leatherface. I relate to the idea of how people think you are, and they decide that's how you are, so they've made up their minds about you, and then you're kind of, in their minds, you're kind of stuck in that, like, okay, that's who I am, I can't change it. And I think Leatherface goes through this battle with himself, where it's like, I'm not this. That's the many faces he wears. He hides his real face. He has to wear this mask of evil to let them know that they're right about him, even though deep down his real face is not the face of a killer. It's the face of a victim. He's a victim just as much as his victims are victims. Because I like saying the word victim, 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 victim. So they knock her out and she wakes up tied to a chair at a dinner table and she gets to meet old Grandpa, who's 137 years old. What? How is he? Nobody's 137 years old. How the fuck? I'm going to assume that their math skills and their knowledge of women are probably neck and neck, and they don't know how to add. Grandpa's probably like 76. And he's as useless at killing as he was in the original. He looks more alive, though. But Lefty shows up to the rescue, always a little bit late. And he chainsaws Cook in the ass. And in my mind, I'm thinking, wait a minute. The chainsaw is a symbol, it's a phallic symbol, and he just stuck it up the Cook's ass. Ew. What did I just see here? Is he out for revenge, or is Lefty into some weird shit too? You can't just have the chainsaw represent a dick and then have Lefty stick that dick up somebody else's ass without arousing a few questions. But Cook is not dead, as Lefty clearly kills Leatherface. Like, we don't see Leatherface die, but we see him get enough of a chainsaw on him. You're not coming back from that. I don't care who you are. I don't care how fat you are, how much you weigh. A chainsaw going through your front, sticking out like 12 inches out of your back, like a chainsaw all the way through you. You're done, son. That's a wrap. There's no Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 after that. Meanwhile, Cook goes for the Hail Mary. He steals a hand grenade from Nubbin's body, who's kind of all over this movie. It was Nubbin's body in the beginning of this film that they were on the Trucksworth when they attacked the original teenagers. And I was reading, because Crop Top and Nubbins are twin brothers, so even after Nubbin's death, he still likes having them around. And Nubbins has a grenade for some reason. Cook tries to throw it. Grandpa bumps Leatherface while Leatherface is still alive and Chainsaw's active. I don't know. Cook gets a chainsaw to the head. Cook's clearly dead. Hand grenade rolls out. I don't see the difference because where was he going to throw it versus where it landed? And he blows up that section. Stretch and Chop Top get out first, leaving me to believe, though, that Lefty died in the explosion. Cook died too because the grenade didn't go far enough. Cook is definitely dead because the grenade blew up next to him, but it also probably collapsed the cave. Leatherface is still down there, so if the chainsaw didn't kill him, the avalanche, the destruction would have. There's no way Leatherface is still alive. He's just a man. He's not somebody possessed that comes back from a lake or from the depths of hell or wherever. He's just a dude, so he should be dead. This should be the final movie. And Tobe Hooper directed it, so that's probably not too far off from the reality of it. Little did Tobe know there would be several sequels after this. Toby's probably watching part 3 what the fuck? I killed Leatherface. Why is he still alive? The Stretch climbs up to the top. This weird fortress. She climbs up. Chop Top's following her. She finds Grandma. There is a woman in this world. Grandma. And it looks like it looks like she's dead, but then she blinks. She's still alive. She's got a chainsaw with her, which is kind of this weird, they're not a chainsaw family. Leatherface does all the chainsawing. The other members like killing people and stuff, but they're not using chainsaws. But the chainsaw, the saw is family. The saw is not the family. Otherwise, they'd all have chainsaws. The meat is the family. The cooking. These guys are cooks. They're not killers. Well, they're both. But as Chop Top gets up there, and Chop Top does weird stuff where he slices his throat open several times, and it doesn't faze him, even though he's bleeding. It's not a fake knife. It's a real knife. Stretch turns on the chainsaw. She kills him, and then she snaps, implying that if there is a Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, we have ourselves a new Leatherface. But she's just a new Leatherface. We never hear from Stretch again. And that's the end of the movie, and the Badass Award goes to Stretch, because she went from a mild-mannered DJ to a stone-cold killer, and even somehow knew the Leatherface dance. What did we learn?
Survival tales.
Don't play chicken with the locals. Never let the murderer know that you know who he is. And finally, get a life. Leave your house once in a while. If your job and your family are the only thing you have going for you, you're a loser because you don't know the difference between a good family and a bad family, or even a good job and a shitty job. Don't just stay in. Get out there and live your life.
This film was not as goofy as I remembered it, despite Chop Top's efforts.
Fire in the hole!
Although it does dispute my argument for the original being a slasher or not. I always look at it as a home invasion. People came to their house and they defended it. But in this one, in the opening, they're out on the town driving their trucks like a couple of assholes. They're looking for targets. They're looking for people to kill, thus making them slashers. They weren't looking for anybody in the original. Now they are. Does that mean we go back and make them slashers then? But there were some pretty good kills in this movie. We got Tom Savini on the special effects. It's on Tubi now. If you haven't already seen it or haven't seen it in a while, go back, rewatch it, or watch it for the first time. And if you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon.
Good night.